What if Nintendo expanded the current state of villager dialogue into 3 dimensions for this next Animal Crossing without using AI? In this video, me and my special guest will address your concerns with the state of villagers as they appear in New Horizons, discuss what needs to change to make them way more interesting without the use of AI, and propose my idea on the 3 unique dimensions we could see for each and every villager in the upcoming Animal Crossing 6 for Switch 2. This is the Nintendidn't, So We Did podcast on the MFC. Joining me today is my special guest, Crafty Type 1. Welcome, man.
Hello, everyone. My name is Crafty Type 1. I also go by Crafty. On my channel, I kind of do daily Nintendo content, talking about just Nintendo news. If Nintendo does something, I'll probably talk about it.
Yeah, dude. You're awesome. Like, I recently, probably within the last 6 months or so, found your channel because of your Animal Crossing videos. So tell me a little bit more about how you started your channel and why Animal Crossing is something that interests you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I started doing YouTube full-ish time, uploading daily, 6 months ago. So yeah.
Okay.
But I've had the channel for about over a decade now, but started doing that fuller time 6 months ago. But when it comes to Animal Crossing, I mean, that's even farther back. I started with City Folk on the Wii, and then that's where my love of Animal Crossing kind of grew. And then, of course, I've gotten every game after that. I remember I actually got my 3DS when New Leaf came out, because it was like my family, got it as like a graduation kind of gift going into middle school. And then, of course, New Horizons is when my channel kind of grew massively. And then, of course, second fold when it comes to Animal Crossing 6.
Definitely very inspirational around the time that I was starting to get into the Animal Crossing 6 predicting and really trying to outline this document that we're going to be talking about today. I found some inspiration from your channel as well as some others. So it's really cool to be able to do a collab with you today and talk about something that we're both passionate about, and that's the next Animal Crossing, and especially the topic that we have today, which is villagers and what we need to do to fix villagers and get them to where they could be way more interesting. So I'm very excited to be talking about this. Once again, guys, if you have never seen the document before, you can check it out in the link in the description of this podcast. It is super meaty. There's a lot of stuff to read in there. So if you're bored and you really want Animal Crossing 6 to come out soon, then this is going to hold you over, because there's a lot of really great information here on the fully fleshed out Animal Crossing game that I've created. And I call it Small Town Big City for those of you who may just be tuning in for the very first time. And I'm excited to be talking about our first part of this video, which is the current state of villagers. There's something going on right now that needs to be fixed. So I don't know if I can pinpoint exactly what it is. Maybe you can help me out with this, but what is going on with villagers as they were in New Horizons?
Overall, they just feel very, I'm going to say flat, very one-dimensional. They feel like NPCs in a sense. And I don't think that's what a lot of players want, especially from, a life sim like Animal Crossing. Of course, there's different things under the hood that, make a villager, their relationships, their activities, their dialogue. And I think it's a variety of those things that, affect that perception. When it comes to specifically New Horizons, I think the main thing that we all felt was just the repetitiveness of the dialogue. I don't know if you felt the same way.
I did. Yes, I definitely felt the repetitiveness. I think it's interesting because I've watched a lot of videos on villagers specifically, and one thing that they pointed out is that the word count of villagers has exponentially increased from New Leaf to New Horizons, and yet we're getting repeat dialogue over and over again when you log onto the game, which to me doesn't make any sense. Why is this happening?
Yeah, I mean, it has only grown exponentially from game to game. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's 1.3 million word count for New Horizons. And then, before that, it was just under a million for New Leaf, and then, so on and so forth. But yeah, it is interesting that, this, the biggest complaint that a lot of us feel is, the dialogue, but it's the only thing that's really been changed the most or gotten a lot more content added to it.
Yeah, I mean, to be positive about what New Horizons added to villagers is they added hobbies, which is the very first time we've really ever seen something like that with villagers. We saw spraying plants, they're doing the zoomies, like the Naruto running like
Yeah.
around the town. So they all got a little bit of another dimension, but it's not even like a full dimension. I feel like it was kind of like a half measure, and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, it goes along the line of feeling like these villagers are more accessories to your town rather than anthropomorphic animals that I get to talk to and interact with. On the GameCube, the villagers would not only be like the main part of the game, but they also had these almost rude personalities that made it so much more relatable to real life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, look at the people that are in this world today. Like, if you're trying to prepare these young kids for the real world,
Mm-hmm.
where now it's just like we're kind of just coddling them with these kind villagers who are never upset, who will just move out when you tell them to, come to the town when you want them to. And I feel like we've just been too soft, so we need to get to something a little bit more. And it's funny to say this with a video game that's not real, but we need something a little bit more real when it comes to these personalities.
Yeah, 100%. I do think. I mean, if you look back in the dialogue, there is definitely a shift where Nintendo decided, okay, we need to make this just not upset anyone in any way, and yeah, it is unfortunate because it isn't, real in that sense. Because of course, yeah, you go out into the real world, you're gonna have people ignoring you if you try to talk to them, especially if you're strangers. But
Yes.
yeah, and I think that's where we feel that a lot of that personality was lost as well, was because that every villager in New Horizons just became nice, and that kind of just blended all of them together. To the differences in personality types weren't that drastic.
Just not that those stark differences, like
Mm-hmm.
even those who were considered mean in the past were generally pretty tame in these games. And so I think for me in New Horizons, villager dialogue and interactions would get bland, and like the greetings, like we said, were oftentimes like
Mm-hmm.
the exact same with like multiple villagers, which doesn't make any sense because they're different like personalities. And like despite this like high word count,
Mm-hmm.
like highest in the series,
Yeah.
like villagers just felt like these accessories instead of the main feature. And so I'm hoping that in the next game that we can kind of get back to this, and like what is the next step, what is the path to this. And then so in the second part of our discussion, I want to talk about, do you think that the next step for Nintendo is to use AI to expand villager dialogue? What are your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, Crafty?
Yeah. So I actually have a video talking about, everything that Nintendo could do with AI in the next Animal Crossing, specifically talking about Gen AI, because of course there's different, types of, AI models and everything like that. Because
Yes.
I mean, right now there technically is AI in Animal Crossing. If you think about like
Sure.
pathfinding and
Yes.
yeah, but
Yeah, that would be traditional AI
mhm.
versus like what you're talking about is generative AI. Is that correct?
Yeah, so yeah, of course there's like generative AI, which is, computer making something based off of the data and the facts that it has now. When people think about it, they think of like Chat GPT. The AI in current Animal Crossing is smaller in that kind of sense because it's, very small data and do what it's kind of programmed for them to do.
Right. It's kind
So
of like in Mario Kart World, like this shy guy's walking around.
when it comes to like the Shy Guy, it goes by states. So like if there was a car in front of the Shy Guy, the state is like, oh, my path is impeded, let me then go around. When it comes to the video that I made about Gen AI, it was more about kind of expanding everything, using it as a tool and not implementing it into the game.
Oh, okay. So like in the development process rather, or something live happening in the game?
Yeah, I think definitely in the development process, because of course running an AI model, it takes a lot of CPU, GPU. As we've said before, they've exponentially grown the word count, and it still felt stale. So how much
Yeah.
more do they need to make when it comes to dialogues for it to not feel that way? And if you're just going to want to throw words at the problem, I think Gen AI is probably the way to go. Especially with, Nintendo leaders expressing interest in it.
Now, Nintendo's gotten a lot of flack lately for a lot of things, so I think that maybe trying to pull AI in for Animal Crossing may be a huge nail in the coffin for them personally. But in a way, I can agree with you that using AI in the process would help with development because I personally would rather see villagers being expanded and feel different and use some of that AI as a tool. To me, like I would rather have different dialogue, something that doesn't feel empty. I think the general consensus is that AI is typically frowned upon.
Mhm.
The biggest reason why it is because it's taking away jobs from story writers and people who could be doing this. They could use AI as a tool to get more dialogue done and then have a human that's analyzing all of this new text and making it actually feel real, feel Nintendo, and not feel like an AI generated thing. Kind of
Mhm.
using that as a backboard to expand this and get some more dialogue going. What do you think about that?
100%. Nintendo has already gotten their feet wet with AI upscaling, which is just, taking the pixels that are already on the screen and, making more from it. Nintendo back in 2024 stated that they didn't want to touch AI. And then in their most recent investor meeting, Furukawa then opened up to it as long as it'll make the development process smoother. But they think that the personality or what makes their games great are the developers, and I think he
Mm.
reiterated that too. But it's funny that he kind of flipped off of what he then said a year ago, where a lot of the hate comes from is a lot of these models are trained off of stolen property, just anything that they could find on the internet they try and use, and Nintendo doesn't want to be a part of that. But now with some of these models, you could actually train it on your own data. So using like
Yes.
Animal Crossing text as example, they could feed it every single dialogue that Animal Crossing has made before, and then they'd be like, okay, let's make 20 more, but slightly different, and then you would effectively double the word count in just a second.
Yeah. I think the biggest concern that fans would probably have, or parents or Nintendo themselves, would be why is my cute villager cussing all of a sudden? But I am really liking your thoughts on that and just kind of thinking through like using Nintendo's own information, not stealing
Mm-hmm.
from other sources, but using their own source material, creating a AI generated chat box that's pulling from information that they want to feed it and not just general information. And I loved in the past games, there used to be like a meter,
Uh-huh.
and I don't think we really saw much of that in New Horizons at all. I can't even recall one
Mm-hmm.
instance where that ever happened. And so their response would be varied depending on how strongly or how less likely you would like set the meter. And so every time you would get a different response based off of where the click was on the meter.
Yeah.
The hair system also worked very similar in those past games where you would pick like depending on how high or how low you had the meter would choose what
Mm-hmm.
kind of hair color or hairstyle you would
Yeah, I
get.
remember that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that just added even more variation to the game. So I think more options too when the villager dialogue pops up would be great. So one of the ways that I plan to implement that into my game to add bartering or like resource trading in the game. And
Oh,
so that would
100.
add another text box into the option of what you can do. And so every time you meet up with a villager, you have the option of asking them for a trade, or maybe they're going to ask you for a trade. And that would allow you to even go deeper in your friendship and your interactions with these villagers. There also used to be more passive options. You would have an option that would like cancel the interaction. You would have a neutral option, then you would have like more of a regular option that you would choose to like continue the dialogue.
Yeah.
So having more like maybe like a off the cuff like negative response would just add so much of a quirky dialogue to the game. So actually giving it negative responses rather than everything just being positive or even just passive.
The easiest way they could add that is every time you like pester a villager to talk, they could just be like, what do you want to talk about now? Instead of, because I think the system New Horizons is doing is just they repeat the same dialogue over and over again, until something changes. I think maybe the hour changes. But yeah,
Weather too.
yeah, weather too. If you keep talking to them, I'd love it to be like, okay, like I don't want to talk to you anymore. It could just be like dot dot dot, like they're ignoring you or something like that.
That'd be funny. So, in this third and final part of our podcast here, I want to talk about the three-dimensional villager expansion plan that I have for Animal Crossing Small Town Big City. And I've been very excited to share this with all of you, as well as talk about it with Crafty, because of a lot of his videos that talked about both the AI villagers and just wanting villagers to be expanded. And so I've been waiting for this topic to talk to him specifically and hear some of his thoughts and share. But in this situation, there is no use of AI, so let's just go forward with that assumption. So next, we're going to talk about making villagers feel each unique and special. So in this instance, no two villagers will be the same. And this doesn't just go for text either. Each one will be specifically unique, and the thing that's going to be setting them apart is our third dimension. So let's go through each of those dimensions. The first layer is going to be personality. This is what already exists in the game. So this is your snooty, peppy, jock personality. And I was able to add a total of 12 personalities. So we'll talk through those. The second layer is aspiration. So this is something like a little bit more of a step up than hobbies. There's 24 specific aspirations that villagers can have. And then finally, the third and final level is their dream. And these dreams are a specific goal and dream that each villager has that makes them completely unique from each and every other villager. So they may have the same aspiration, but they do not have the same dream. So each villager has a programmed dream and final conclusion of their story arc, if you will. And we're about to go through this right now. I'm so excited. What do you think about seeing this for the first time, Crafty? What were your initial thoughts about this three-layer, three-dimensional system for villagers?
The first time I read through this, I was actually really impressed. I mean, the amount of depth that you went into, um, describing and making all of this, it is definitely, it is commendable. But the actual system itself makes a lot of sense too, because as I kind of described before, what makes villagers feel a little one dimensional isn't just the dialogue, but there's other aspects to it. And of course, the more uniqueness you add to each and every villager, the more different it all feels.
I added a couple extra types that I felt like would make sense for the current villagers in the game, which is parental, lone wolf, artistic, and brainiac.
Yeah.
So I believe that's 8 returning and 4 new. These 12 personality types mark the basic structure of dialogue with every villager character.
The villagers in this game reflect more varied responses from the older games and some new. At the beginning of the game, villagers will be surprised, moody, scared by seeing, a human in their town. I think that's something that a lot of the existing games haven't really done. Here are some of their responses based off of their personalities. If a villager's snooty, smug, or cranky, they'll kind of yell at you. Sisterly or Uchi, normal or peppy villagers are the most open to friendship. Parental scolds you for being out too early/late or not dressed properly for the weather. Brainiacs and jocks will call you inferior. Lone wolf, artistic, or lazy, it may not talk to you at all.
Designing these characters and making them feel real. One thing we mentioned a little bit earlier in the game is that like villagers were just friendly to you off the bat. Like they've never seen you before and yet they want to be your best friend. But that's just not realistic whatsoever. Like when you talk to somebody who is, peppy, they may be friendly to you at first, but sometimes they can come off a little extreme. Or like when you're talking to like a parent, they're gonna scold you like, "Hey, you've been out too late. Like, what are you doing out? Like, you're gonna catch a cold. Grab a jacket." You're moving into a new town for the first time. But in this storyline, they have not seen humans in this town for a long time. And there's some hurt that's happened there because the humans have all moved away to join the big city, where leaving them and their small town to kind of fall apart. And so the first time seeing a human, you got to believe that there's going to be some
Hmm.
negative responses or some surprised responses to this, revelation. And so that kind of plays into the greater storyline of what Animal Crossing Small Town Big City could be. And what I would hope that they would do for the next Animal Crossing is just make it more realistic when it comes to their interactions. So it can only get better from there though. So as you kind of progress with your villagers in the game, you kind of break those hard shells or those awkward shells, and you start to get to know them. And as you do that, you start to break open that second layer, which is the aspiration. But before we, go to that, I want to talk about the logic meter. So in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, we had a very similar concept where there was this system where the more that you would help this villager, they would grow in like your friendship level. And I think that worked really well. And I think that could work really well here. All of this is an invisible process. So these things are programmed into the game. There's some level of guessing and level of committing to these characters. But if you check out the document, you can find more about these meter logistics. I'm not going to talk about it anymore here just because it's a lot of dialogue. But if you really do want to go deeper with this, check it out in the document, and you can check out a little bit of how it works, how you start from that stranger at level 1 and to move all the way into this villager is your best friend and you're suddenly helping them fulfill their dreams. And so I thought that would be really fun, to give, villagers that system of progression. And I feel like it really just brings you in the game deeper and keeps you longer, which was something that New Horizons had a huge problem with, is longevity of the game. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So let's break open the second layer. So once you start to break that hard exterior, you kind of get to know them a little better and you help them in a couple ways. But then layer 2 kind of breaks open the aspiration portion. Do you want to share a little bit more about what you've learned about that?
Yeah. In New Horizons, some villagers picked up hobbies like walking and gardening. These were very limited, but added some fun details to villagers, reading or doing in Naruto runs around town square, like as you explained. However, we could do much more with, those 24 unique aspirations that you've made. I think some of them that you've made are like socialite, learner, minimalist, collector, musician. All of these seem to like it fits. It fits 100%.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think when I was developing villagers, I wanted to make villagers that lived their lives in the way that you'd want to play the game.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of different people that are going to play Animal Crossing, but we all play for different reasons. And the one that inspired me the most was collectors, because I think like a lot of people will play Animal Crossing to finish the museum. But a lot of people recently, the reason for playing the game has been to create this beautiful town, and that has just kind of fallen to the wayside. But there's this group of people who still play the game that way, or they want to make fashion, or they want to sell their items, or they want to get closer with their villagers. Like everybody has a reason for playing Animal Crossing. So what if there were villagers that kind of played the game in the same way that you do, in a very unique way?
Mhm.
And so that is what inspired Aspirations. So I kind of started with two characters, Zell and Hazel, and kind of worked out what they and what their characteristics would look like. And Zell is in my town, and he seemed pretty cool. And he had like this jazzy kind of room.
Mhm.
And I thought like he could be a cool character to see, like, want to be a jazz musician in the big city. And so I kind of ran with that. And like, I feel like he'd be a very social person. He'd want to make a lot of connections, talk to a lot of people, which would lead to his dream of being a professional jazz musician. And then the natural conclusion of that would be, when that's fulfilled, you actually can go visit him in the city as he's playing in his jazz band
Hmm.
and get to see him actually, performing. I thought that would be so cool to just see him start as, somebody who is cold to you to somebody who you're getting to know. Then you get to find out what their aspiration is, what drives them in their life. And then as you grow deeper and deeper, he'll reveal his dream to you. Yeah, I want to be a jazz musician one day. I feel like I can trust you and like share this information with you because I feel safe. I'm your friend. And then you get to become their best friend, fulfill their dreams, and then see them thrive in the world. And this just brings in just this beautiful like storyline, this beautiful like almost like humanity to the game that I feel like that emptiness of New Horizons was missing. Is just almost that realism, like what we've been talking about.
I 100% agree. And honestly, if Nintendo were to add anything in this document, I feel like it would be this, adding like almost a second
Mm.
level to personalities. Because I mean, as you were explaining with the socialite, wanting to be like more social with the villagers, you could just stumble upon his house, and there's like four different people in there. Is what
Yeah, he has
like
like people over all the time.
yeah, 100. And then like you also had another one like a foodie, and it's like all the gifts that you'd be getting from that villager would only be like food related items. I'm picturing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think
yes.
like this as a concept is very interesting, and honestly, it's amazing because right now when we pick villagers to put on our islands, it's more of do I like their look? It's not really about the person. Yeah, it's
Aesthetics.
not really about personality. But I think, as you said, is kind of building a town or an island where they play a game similar to you. Like, yeah, having a town full of collectors would be interesting because they understand, like, oh, the museum needs this fish. You want to deposit it, or you want to, drop it in or donate it for me? And I think that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it would inspire you to play the game even more so in the way that you enjoy to.
Hmm.
And it would give incentive, like, say you have this ugly or like grumpy villager, people just like see them and they're like, get them out of my town.
Yeah.
But it would actually give you incentive to keep them around a little bit while longer because the item that they may give you, and we'll get into that in just a second, might actually be worth it to
Hmm.
unlock later on. So, getting to know each villager will slowly start to reveal these aspirations to you. They will start to ask you like to do some tasks like a mission or item that they'd like you to get them, but one will never outright give their aspiration away to you. If you know what they are, you can kind of guess after a while, but there's so many varieties to explore that you may not exactly know where they're going to fall, as you're getting to know them. So there's a lot of variety here.
I do see that you describe more about like your friendliness level. Of course, I think that system in existing games works pretty well, and I think adapting it for this one makes a lot of sense. But as you describe it, your friendliness level with your villagers, it may land you in a game of hide and seek in a town. If a villager wants you to take them somewhere, they can follow you to that location, like in New Leaf. At this level of personality, dialogue options will be more varied. As you grow with your villagers, more stuff unlocks with them. Hmm.
More opportunities like you mentioned, like the hide and seek or like those popovers. One thing I hated about New Horizons, and I will use the word hate because it was the most annoying thing, I just get done editing in my room and I get that knock on the door and it's my neighbor, and I don't even like this neighbor, and all of a sudden they're over and you gotta like go somewhere real quick, but then you gotta clear them out and then you get to leave.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I want to be able to choose, like in past games, like, hey, like when are you available? Okay, 9 p.m. Okay, I'll come over at 9 p.m. And then there was like this element of like, oh my gosh, I gotta go visit my villager. I
Yeah.
totally forgot about my plans. And then they would like remember that you forgot, and
Yep.
it would be so sad. So, like, that's okay. Like, it's okay to make you as the player a little bit sad that you missed that plan with your villager, especially if you're the one that gets to schedule it when it works for you.
Hmm.
Like you could even like there could be a time with your smartphone if you wanted to. Like bing, oh, I gotta meet my villager in 15 minutes. Like
Yep. Yep.
the Nook phone like makes a notification pop up. Like this could be something that's relevant and important again, is visiting your villagers or having them pop over to your space and like actually having like a full hangout time that makes sense for you because you're at that friendship level with them. You
Mhm.
actually do want to connect and like build that relationship so that you can get them to their dream quicker. So
100%.
it really, that whole end weedle leak thing, like I just keep coming back to that. Like they want to improve communication, but not only with other people, but like also increase communication with your villagers. Like make them a unique and special part about the game again.
Yeah, and I think you described it perfectly when the pop-in scheduling, what time they come in, and then you, if you forget about it, they remember that. They're like, "Hey, I was knocking on your door for like 10 minutes." But like, yeah, no, I think that definitely adds another aspect of, scheduling your virtual life as well. Mhm.
For sure. So the main point with villagers is you want to be able to get them to that third level, and that's their dreams. So what a dream is, it's something that each and every villager deeply wishes to fulfill that uniquely sets their wants and goals apart from every other villager. So this is the uniqueness factor, that no two villagers will have the same dream. Each one of those will set them apart and will get that different dialogue, because if you look at the list of dreams kind of like lower, like as we use Zella as an example, but let's use our other example, Hazel, once again. Her dream is to collect craft supplies to make cards for friends. So her, as a collector, she may ask you to, oh, I want some craft supplies or something like that. But then once you unlock that dream state where you can start fulfilling the dream, that dialogue is going to change to, hey, I made this card. Like she normally wouldn't talk about cards, but now she's talking about it all the time. So
Mhm.
that just unlocks that unique dialogue that we really need in the game. And that's unlocked during the dream portion in the friendship of your villagers. So some of the most memorable interactions with your villagers will happen here because they're just so unique. So once your friendship with each villager grows larger, beyond them revealing their aspiration, they will outright share their dream with you, and they will tell you, this is my dream. And now you're responsible for helping them fulfill their dream. So when they share this with you, it will register on their icon in the town map. So you can track the dreams. You may not be able to track personalities and aspirations, but once they reveal this to you, this is going to be a major part that plays in your small town experience, is now you get to help them. So you can hover over their name and it'll reveal their dream to you anytime that you want. So if you forget, once they've revealed it to you, you can just come back and see it again. And they're also going to talk about it all the time now. So it's going to weave into dialogue. They're going to ask a request for you that's specifically going towards their dream. Like you mentioned, the foodie is going to give you food, and they're going to ask for food all the time. They may want you to craft special recipes that you never did before, which will add extra time to the game that you need to spend. So while two villagers may have the same personality and aspiration, their dream is always going to be unique. There's always two fulfilled paths that villagers can walk on when it comes to fulfilling their dreams. The first path is a path that betters their small town. So this is going to impact local culture. This is going to be like, they want to impact fashion, or they want to make the town look beautiful, or they want all different kinds of hybrid trees or flowers in their town. So that's going to be the path that impacts their, your personal life in the game. And when you help them fulfill that, you're actually going to get a hand delivered letter and an exclusive gift. More on that gift in just a second. The second possible path is they're actually going to move away and they're going to pursue their dream in the big city. Once they get there, they will mail you this exclusive letter and gift once they get there. And the great thing is you can still continue to talk to these villagers via letter, and you can also visit them in the big city anytime to see them actually living out the dream that you got to help them develop. So I think that's super cool
Mhm.
and exciting. So this dream reward, there is a reward for helping these villagers fulfill their dreams. And I'm going to tell you, this is an exclusive item that is not available any other way in the game. So Crafty, tell me a little bit more about what you learned when it comes to dream rewards.
Yeah. Rewards for dreams fulfilled are better than just a photo this time around. Each animal villager will have an exclusive item programmed into the game that they will send you when you help them 100% their dream they aspire to be. Villagers who move away will send you a gift in the mail, while villagers who stay in your town will hand deliver that gift for you. These items are exclusive rewards, as you said, that you can't get any other way. It would take decades to collect every single one yourself. And honestly, like, as you said, as I said before, this is like 10 times better than, a picture frame. Like, of course, the frame could still be in the game, but I think the dream after you get them to that point, getting something like this, it would be cool. And then it adds like another layer to like that multiplayer aspect. Someone could be visiting your town or your house and you'd be like, oh, where'd you get that? And like, oh, well, this is what I did. And then, yeah, I think,
Yes, and you can share the story about, hey, this is what their dream was. This is what I had to do in order to get it. And they're like, wow, I've never experienced that before. So it's almost like a personalized experience of Animal Crossing every time that you're playing. As you can imagine, programming these specific items into the game may be difficult. It adds a lot of data to the game. There's a lot of villagers. But I mean, think about it. What, like 600, 700 exclusive items that you can only get? It's not really that unrealistic. More about these items, though. These items are actually priceless. You can actually not trade these items with any other players in the game. So if your friend comes over, you cannot drop this item. They cannot pick it up. You can't sell it to the shops because they recognize that this item does not even belong to you. It's something that was gifted to you, and so therefore it cannot be sold. So these items are priceless. And I think that's so amazing, and it adds to the uniqueness and the specialness about that relationship that you made with that villager. So that no matter what, like, this is something that you earned. It's like a trophy that you got, and you get to have this in your town, and there gets to be bragging rights. I mean, some of these items aren't just going to be like little dinky things. Like, these are going to be huge items or special items that when you go to your friend's town, it's going to be like, how did you get that? Just like you said. And I worked really hard for this, and this is what I got in return. So I think that's super unique, and it just adds such a personalized experience to the game.
100%. I think, you having those stories that you could share is, what Animal Crossing is all about. And I feel like what the more recent games have kind of lost, where it's more of just kind of showing off your island, your town, instead of showing off your connections.
Mm, I love that. So to kind of close the video, we talked about all three. We've tackled everything from the current problem with Animal Crossing as the state that it's in, the potential problem of AI and maybe how Nintendo could work around that to get these special developed villagers into the game. And then finally, we talked about the plan for small town, big city, what I would love Nintendo to do to expand these villagers not into one dimension, but into 3 total dimensions. But I want to end on a fun note and talk about what are some new villager types that we could possibly see in this next game. And I just included a couple that I think could be in the game, but I'd love to hear, Crafty, if there's any that I didn't include that aren't in the game yet that you would love to see.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually shared this into any one of my videos, but there's two specifically, and you have one of them on here. One being an axolotl. I think axolotls would be amazing, and I don't think we have a lot of aquatic creatures. And then two are as a more of like it'll still be classified as a dog, but like Shiba Inus. Like, yeah, I have a Shiba Inu myself, so I think just having some in the game would be awesome. And they're such beautiful dogs.
Did you know that there is an axolotl already in the game?
Is there really?
Yes, it's one character. He is an NPC. Do you know who it is?
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. It's not Doctor. What's his name? Shrunk? No. Yeah.
Yes. So we already do have an axolotl in the game already. However, you don't know what the heck this guy is. I remember when I first saw him in my town, I think I almost had a heart attack because I was like, what is that? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, some axolotls would be super cool in the game. But the one that I think that makes the most sense, and we already have one in the game, is an otter. And I think otters would, everybody loves otters. They're so cute. One of my favorite animals. And so I think having a bunch of new otters in the game as villagers would be just amazing. And then along the lines of what you said for the Shiba Inu, a corgi. I think corgis are very popular dogs as well, especially in like Japan. And so I think corgi would be a great natural conclusion to add a new dog type to the game. But I love the sheep idea as well. And then I think having a salamander subtype as well would add more like lizards in the game. We only have a few of those. And then surprisingly, we don't have any fox villagers as well. We have a kitsune, which is red, crazy red, but he's a type of fox, but we don't actually have like a fox character in the game. And so I think that having a fox villager would be incredibly cute and incredibly great. And then the last one that I thought of, and I've seen this in other concepts for villagers, but having a bat villager in the game, specifically a fruit bat, because fruit bats are really, really cute and cuddly. So I think having a fruit bat villager would be just really cool to add to the game. So I think in this next game, we need to have at least one or two, if not a bunch more villager animal types to enjoy the game and have a different variety of villagers to add to the game. I think with maybe the salamanders or the lizards, we might have a lot more lone wolf types because they tend to be more reserved. So maybe that'll help add more of those into the game. And so yeah, guys, make sure you check out this document. There's a lot more information that we didn't share, including pictures of all these concepts that I think will help illustrate these, as well as a bunch of villagers that have already planned out what their personalities, what their aspirations, what their dreams, and what gifts they'll give you in the end will be. So make sure you check that out on the document. Crafty, I just wanted to thank you. This has been such a great and encouraging conversation. We have just been needing to see some change in like the YouTube atmosphere when it comes to villagers, because there's just been a lot of negativity. So let's start doing something about it and create something that is giving a more positive outlook to what villagers could be. And so I really thank you for joining me on this podcast today. Any last words that you want to share with the fans of villagers and Animal Crossing out there?
I mean, I appreciate you for having me on. Yeah, thank you so much. But yeah, I think, as you said before, I think we just need a little bit more positivity in this space. It's awesome to see another creator talking about the next Animal Crossing. I feel like we're few and far between right now, but the closer we get, I think we're going to be at the top of that. But yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast.
I agree. It's just nice to be able to talk with other people who are interested in this topic. Like you said, there's not a whole lot of people talking about it, but there's even less people actually doing something about it and like creating content that actually reveals the fixes for these things. Like I have a bunch of opinions on what I don't like and what I want for the next game, but there's not a lot of people who are actually putting in the work to conceptualize these things. And I think we need more of that in this space. So I'm hoping that by doing this, that I could create a new space for people on YouTube to see these concepts and get even more hype for what Animal Crossing should and could be coming up hopefully very soon.
100%.
So, man, thanks again, Crafty, for joining us today. If you want to check out Crafty's YouTube channel, that is going to be linked in the description as well. Once again, it is Crafty Type 1 on YouTube. And I hear him and Lizard are going to be starting a podcast very soon, he mentioned earlier. So when that comes out, I want you guys to just flood his views and likes and comments section with a bunch of love for him and Lizard. I've enjoyed getting to know each of them here on the YouTube space, and I just want you to subscribe to them and just enjoy their videos because they got a lot of great stuff out there as well. So thank you once again, Crafty, and this has been the Nintendidn't So We Did podcast. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been the Nintendidn't So We Did podcast. Check us out on both YouTube and Spotify for more content on Animal Crossing Small Town Big City.